Hello, gorgeous souls. It's Stephanie Levinston, Intuitive Channel. Welcome. I'm going to speak with you briefly about the book discussion that we're going to have on Wednesday, and I hope that many of you can join us on that. So a while back, I talked about this great book that I read by a beautiful author who I have had the opportunity not just to meet in person, but actually to work with her. I've channeled for her, and she's an exquisite being. Her name is Lynn Twist, and this woman has traveled the globe serving in the capacity of a fundraiser. She's raised millions of dollars for causes very, very important to our planet. She has worked for the Hunger Project to work to eradicate hunger around the world. She's a co-founder of an organization called the Pachamama Alliance, which is protecting essentially the whole planet, focused on the headwaters of the Amazon and the Amazon rainforest in general, and working alongside the indigenous tribes there to give them their rights, their land rights, their legal rights, because they know how to care for this land. We're not doing such a great job of it, but the indigenous peoples know how to respect and live in harmony with nature. So I can't say enough about her, and this book that she wrote, The Soul of Money, is really a beautiful opportunity. If you can get it and read it, do so. I happen to have listened to it on Audible, otherwise I would be holding up the book for you all to see. If you want to know what's important to you, she says, look at your checkbook and look at your credit card statement. If you want to know what your priorities are, look there. Because those things that we are paying for, those areas where we are routing, those are our priorities. All right, let me try to move a little bit closer here. Bear with me. Let's see if I can get a little bit. I'm going to go grab my chair. Okay. Let's see if this is going to be any better. I don't know why the connection isn't so great, probably because I'm outside. So if you want to get a feel for what's important to you, check where your money's going. And what I love about this book is there's no shame here, right? If your money is going to consumer goods, okay, that's good to know. If your money is going to support family members, charities, wherever it's going, just having the knowledge of that. But what has shifted for me, one of the many things that has shifted for me as I took a closer look at how I'm spending and on what, is that I really was, and maybe in many ways still am, not as conscious as I could be about the resource of money, the energy of money, because that's really all money is. It's an energy. And we invented it. And so we invented it to serve us, to be of service to us, to make life easier for us, so that we were not having to trade, a pig for a pallet of vegetables, but that we could use currency to make things easier. And yet, even though it's something that we haven't created and invented to make life easier, many of us, myself included, find ourselves feeling trapped by money and overwhelmed, and in the mindset, this myth, she calls it the myth of scarcity, the myth that there's not enough. There's not enough money, there's not enough stuff, we have to get more, we have to be worried about taking care of our own, right? I'll take care of me and my own and hope that everybody else does well too, and if there's anything left over at the end of taking care of me and my own, well then I'll route some of the extra there. That was kind of like a mindset that I had bought into as well, that doesn't fit me anymore. And I don't know what this book will be for you or how it will change or shift you. I'm just sharing how my perspective has come completely to a different place, to a deeper place. I have a newer, better appreciation for money and its purpose for me in my life and for what I'm actually here to do. It's helped me to deepen my own, one of my soul's purposes, to be of service. to others. And money is a beautiful way to be of service to others, to be of support. And it's intended to flow. This is another thing she talks about in her book that we'll talk more about on Wednesday. Money is supposed to be in flow. It flows towards us, it flows away from us. It's supposed to flow in both directions. What it's not supposed to do is be stagnant. She talks about how money is kind of like water. We need water to live. We need water to thrive. And yet water can be destructive too. Too much water and we have flooding. Too little water and we have droughts. Just enough water and all is well. And any water that is stagnant, that's not in movement, well, that can be deadly, right? That can carry diseases, that can make us sick. So anyway, we're going to talk more about that on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Hop on the live stream here on my business page where I am right now. And if you're interested, I'm going to pray for the tech gods to join me in showing me how I can facilitate bringing you on. If you want to be part of the discussion live, I think there's a way to get you all on here. If not, you can certainly type in your comments, but I'm going to do my research and see how it goes, see how smoothly it can go. But it's a book worth reading, and if you don't have time to read it, or if you have read it and you want to discuss it, join us. It's going to be a really beautiful opportunity for us to dive in deeper to the purpose and the meaning of money and what our relationship with money has to teach us. All right, so that's Wednesday. I want to also tell you guys a really funny story. So, see this pendulum here? It's beautiful, right? It's the very first pendulum I ever used. I took my first channeling class about 10 years ago through a woman who's no longer here on the earth with us. Her name is Sally Baldwin, and she was a local amazing channel. And when I first became interested in this kind of work, I took a beginning level channeling course with her where I purchased this pendulum from her. It was made by I think a young girl, and I would practice a lot with it. So when I first learned to channel, I learned how to have the pendulum turn and show me what a yes response was and what a no response was, and how to spell things out on this alphabet grid that I had. And eventually I worked my way to doing charts, soul charts, so that I could show people, so I could channel people's souls and find out how old their souls were, and what some of their soul's purpose was, and what the kind of pitfalls would be. Like we can slide into martyrdom, for example, if we're a server soul. So the negative pole would be martyrdom, where we really lose ourselves and then go to that place. And then the positive pole would be just being in service and in balance with that service. So the pendulum, I learned a lot of different things with it, and this one is very special to me. 3 years ago, I taught a channeling class at a local venue. And one of the women who attended, I brought a bunch of pendulums with me that my children and I had made so that people could practice with pendulums, and if they liked what they used, then they just bought the one that they were using. And a woman at the class then, I lent her this one of mine. You know, I very rarely use my pendulum anymore except to teach others how to channel. And so it was no big deal for me to lend her this. And at the end of the class, she was doing so well with it. And I didn't know her personally necessarily, but I knew that I would see her again because she frequently came to the channeling groups that I was doing at that time with a friend of mine. So I told her, take it home. Take the pendulum home. See if it continues to build, if you enjoy, channeling with it. And if you do, then you can come back and buy one from me, or you can just bring it back next time I see you at our group. I fully intended to see her within the next few months because I had seen her with some frequency. Well, 3 years went by and I did not see her, and I didn't know her name, and I wouldn't be able to find out her name because I didn't see her. and I wouldn't even know how to describe her to someone else to try to find out what her name was. So last week I was just driving around and I had this visual of my pendulum in my mind, and I thought, I really want to see that pendulum again. I really want my pendulum back. I wonder what happened to this woman. I wonder if she's okay. I wonder if I'll ever see her again. I wonder if she knows what I'm up to and how to find me. I just had like these fleeting thoughts come through. That the next night I had a channeling group locally. And so I was sitting in the room and some people were trickling in to attend the group, and no lie, in walks her, holding my pendulum. Just walks right through the door. It was like I was seeing an apparition. I know that sounds dramatic, but it was that unbelievable to me. She walks in and she says, "Stephanie, look what I brought." I mean, it's been 3 years, 2 or 3 years since I had lent this out. And it's even more special to me now, of course, because the mentor from whom I purchased it is not on the earth anymore. And so it's like a special connection that I have with her. So I have my pendulum back. And the reason I'm sharing that is because, one, it blows my mind. Two, it's just another example of how what we speak out to the universe, we are being listened to. The universe is responding. I'm not saying that I told the universe, bring me my pendulum. I didn't. But what came from my heart in the remembering of this pendulum and in my seeing it in my mind's eye was, I really do want to be reconnected with it. I wish that was something that was possible. I never actually expected it to happen, and yet it did. So it's just a really fun, cool story to share with you. Also, one other thing I want to share is I am taking another course, another training, because, for those of you that know me, I am also a scholar soul, which means that I am always looking to learn more and more and more and more. So I understand a lot of my clients in that way. We are those who are seeking more knowledge, more learning, more trainings. Where I'm guided these days, however, instead of just gathering and garnering more information, is to actually learn how I can be part of the enormous wave of souls that are coming forward to heal the planet, to heal humanity, to heal plant kingdom, animal kingdom, to be more deeply connected to the rhythms of the planet and to what is necessary now. What I feel so strongly is that time is absolutely of the essence. And I don't say that to sound dramatic. I'm not trying to sound dramatic. Our times right now, they are dramatic. If I do not step forward and fully into this role of teach me, let me learn, tapping into what is necessary for us to halt this enormous destruction that we are bringing about onto ourselves and all living beings, then I know as a soul, I will not be okay with myself if I do not continue learning and opening up and stepping fully into the role that I know I'm being called to do. I don't exactly know how it looks, but I know that I can continue to tap into those leaders who are in the front lines, as I call it, really defending Pachamama, Mother Earth, and promoting health and wellness and connection. And I can use my work, and I can use my heart, and I can use my soul to be part of this. And so I will. I'm committed to it. So one thing that I'm doing is I'm taking an online course called the Game Changer Intensive, and it's through Pachamama Alliance, and it is basically, I think, a 6 or 8 week long course where we are learning what the truth is about the situation of our ecology and the planet and the destruction that's going on. And in addition to learning the very difficult truth is what the solutions are. So they need to go hand in hand, right? We can't just subject ourselves to the desperation that is that is what is true right now, and not have solution focused. So what I love about this intensive is that it's giving both. And so I want to, I believe strongly that as we learn, so we teach. And it needs to be in very, at least for me, very quick succession. My guides tell me this all the time. As soon as I learn something, not hear something, but learn something, really deeply understand that, bring that into a deeper level of my beingness, then so shall I teach it to whomever is open, whomever is seeking, whomever is desiring to be part of that understanding as well. So here is what I'm going to share with you. I want to read a passage that is profoundly beautiful to me. It is written by Charles Eisenstein, who I'm not terribly familiar with until hearing this passage that he wrote. Okay, so I'm just going to read it out loud. It's called A New Story of the People. The world that we see around us is built on a story. Every culture has a different set of answers to these basic questions of who you are. What is it to be a human being? What's important? What's valuable? Where do we come from? Where are we going? How does the world work? Every culture answers this in a different way. And science provides some answers. It says basically that what you are is a discrete, separate individual among other individuals in a universe that's separate from you as well. And every field has agreed with this characterization of what it is to exist. Psychology, you're this bubble of psychology or this mind encased in flesh. Religion, you're a soul encased in flesh. Physics, you're a mass subject to impersonal forces that are deterministic. Biology, you are basically a flesh robot programmed by your genes to maximize reproductive self-interest. Economics, you are a rational actor seeking to maximize financial self-interest. All of them agreed on what it is to exist. Well, the new sciences contradict that. Quantum mechanics seems to violate this separation between self and other. If we're separate from the universe, then of course we want to control these indifferent or hostile external forces, and humanity's destiny becomes to become the Lord and masters of nature and to transcend nature, as if that's even possible, right? And it's not working too well anymore. In economics, that translates into growth, the endless growth of the human realm. And we're learning that there's a limit to that. And we're learning that it's not an external universe out there, but that everything we do in this world, we're doing on some level to ourselves. That is a wound that we feel all the time and that we suffer from. That pain of existing in our culture that is so omnipresent, we don't even realize it, except for when we're bored. That feeling of, why does it hurt just to exist? When we're young, we have this knowledge that the world is supposed to be much more beautiful than what it has been offered to us as normal. We understand that. But that expectation gets betrayed again and again and again. And to protect it, we develop cynicism. As our ecosystems fall apart, our political system, our educational system, healthcare system falls apart, things aren't going so well anymore. And it's a lot harder to fully believe in our stories. So we're moving into a different story. Self, a different story of the world, a different story of the people. A self of interconnectedness, a self of inner beingness. One thing it means is that these tiny actions may have a significance beyond what we can understand. The logic of the heart says, yeah, I know that this is a significant act, and I know that everything I do is significant, no longer contradicts the logic of the mind. So the logic of the heart no longer contradicts the logic of the mind, which had been the logic of separation. And what effect could you, one tiny little being, have with the puny force available to you, when the powers that be have so much more force at their disposal? Every act that comes from the understanding of interconnection, of inner being, is a spiritual act and also a political act. By acting from a different story, we disrupt the psychic substructure of our mythology. And we offer an alternative. This is something that's eminently practical. And anytime that we give somebody an experience that doesn't fit into the old story, it weakens that old story. So I'm going to say that again because this was profound for me and it brought chills. Every time we give somebody an experience that doesn't fit the old story, it weakens the old story. It disrupts it. It could be an act of generosity. It could be an act of forgiveness. Anything that violates that understanding that we are separate and everyone is in it for themselves. Being in service to something larger than yourself disrupts the old story. And I would offer that as the formula for stepping into the flow of synchronicity. You don't know how to get there from here to there, but that thing larger than yourself does. And it arranges these synchronicities, being at the right place at the right time, right? Being in flow. I think everyone has experienced that. And usually when you experience that, it's when your world has kind of fallen apart and you're in this state of uncertainty. And then all things like start to flow and they start to work, right? And we can enter that state when we let go of the paradigm of control and bow into service to this thing larger than ourselves. And what is this thing? What is it that unifies all of these different things that we're committed to? Let's call it the more beautiful world our heart knows is possible. As you go about your life, in fact, right now, feel that part of you that knows that you are here in service. And ask yourself if you're ready to bow more deeply into that service. If you do it, I predict that you will experience an unexpected opportunity to act on that intention. And it will be just at the edge of your courage, but not past it. That's what I'm honoring, my dear souls. That's what I'm honoring for myself, is my readiness, my willingness to bow more deeply into that service, not knowing what it looks like, and knowing that it's just at the edge of my courage, but not past it. Join me in that. Join me on Wednesday at 1 o'clock for our book discussion on the soul of money, where we can transcend our limited, small ideas that we have been fed about what money is and how much of it we're supposed to have and what we're supposed to do with it. Let's transcend that together. Join me also. I have 2 spots left on my group channeling call this Thursday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock in the evening. If you want to be on a call with other like-minded, open-hearted, open-minded souls to transcend again, to ask a question on your heart and hear from divine guidance, register for that. The link is here in the Facebook page. And I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day.